Mad Sports Radio, The Gang Green Report with Mike Damergis and Rob Carpenter.
Mike Damergis along with Rob Carpenter for the Gang Green Report. And Rob, once again, the Jets start the season with a loss, 27-17 to the Buffalo Bills up in Orchard Park in front of an empty house like most NFL stadiums. And what a way to kick things off, Rob. Once again, the Jets lose the opener, and they didn't even look like they belonged in this game.
It really didn't. It looked like they were kind of fishing for themselves the whole game. I mean, just think if Josh Allen didn't have 2 turnovers, the game probably would have been a lot worse because those turnovers came in the red zone. I mean, it seemed like Buffalo was about to score, both times he had those turnovers. So, I mean, the game really probably could have been a lot worse. The team just really didn't look prepared at all.
Yeah, you talk about the 2 turnovers, the 2 missed field goals. What happened to this improved offensive line the Jets were supposed to have? We were hoping that would come into effect. And Sam Darnold, let's be honest, year 3 here, not the way you want to start off the 2020 season.
I really wasn't expecting the line to do great to start the season because there was no training camp. So these guys didn't really get a chance to, gel. The offensive line takes the longest to gel as of any part of the team. Even when you think about quarterback-receiver tandems, it doesn't take very long for a quarterback to get used to a receiver or a receiver to get used to a quarterback. But the offensive line, they have a lot of things to go through just in one play call. So trying to get those guys to gel as a unit. You got 5 guys trying to gel as one unit with so many things happening all at one time. I really wasn't expecting those guys to gel right away, but, probably around game 4 or 5, they would probably be getting together and getting in their groove. Hopefully these guys can stay healthy. But again, you saw it, I saw it, everyone who watched the game saw it. They just don't look like a unit that looks like they belong on a football field. I mean, as a collective unit, not just O-line. I mean, the offense looked kind of terrible. I mean, so they just look like they didn't have training camp. It looked like that might have been, one of the preseason openers.
I don't know. Russell Wilson was 31-35. He didn't have a training camp. Gardner Minshew was and completed 1 pass in the whole game yesterday.
Those guys, you look around the league, it really does look like the Jets are really deficient in a lot of ways. You got to put that on the head coach because they just didn't look good at all.
Let's look at some of the numbers. Sam Darnold, 21-35, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 3 times. And this is the big news that comes out of the game here. Le'Veon Bell left the game with a hamstring injury. You're telling me what the Jets are going to rely on is a 37-year-old Frank Gore. Is that what you're telling me, Rob? Is this possible?
I don't think they have a choice right now. It's going to be Gore. It's going to be Adams. That's basically what you're going to hear for the rest of the year. Between Gore, Adams, and if P. Ryan gets back, hopefully the young kid can actually get in and give a little spark if his ankles is good. But it seems like it's all downhill right from the start of the season. Everything is going downhill, and we're probably going to come on the show every week like just like this. And you're probably going to start with that sound effect every week.
Yeah, let's go to the head coach who said, "Oh, you know what? It might have been a mistake to bring Le'Veon Bell back out there for the second half."
Adam, do you have any feel for how serious Le'Veon's hamstring is?
I don't. I'm mad at myself that I let him go back in there in the second half. That play looked bad. Like I saw, because I'm watching him, and I thought it was going to be a touchdown, and then he got grabbed, and then just kind of the way he kind of planted and torqued it looked really bad, and I saw him grab his hamstring. I'm going, and he wouldn't come out. And then when we came in at halftime, I let him go back in there. I was worried about it, and I eventually was just like, dude, I can't put you in there. We can't take a chance of you getting more hurt than what you already are.
So, Rob, here's a head coach that makes a horrible decision in week 1. Secondly, as a communicator, he could barely get a sentence out or a thought there. As a player, when you hear a head coach speak like that, I mean, you played under Bruce Goslett. Bruce seemed like he was a good communicator, maybe some bad decisions, some bad clock management at times. What's your reaction as a player when you see a head coach that really can't express his thoughts?
It's tough because you're then wondering what's running through his head during the game. You know what I mean? It's you in tense situations, you're probably wondering about what he's thinking about, and it's not always a good thing that you're thinking about what he's thinking about instead of just going on and reacting to what's going on in the game. But with that Lev situation, I mean, I saw it. I'm pretty sure you saw it. Everyone else who was watching the game saw it. When he went down, the first thing he did was grab his hamstring, and I sent out the tweet real quick, like that's not good. Immediately, you see a guy grab for his hamstring when he comes up from an awkward situation, because I've been in that situation where you kind of get torqued in an awkward situation, and you grab muscle grabs. And when he didn't get up right away and he's trying to rub it out, I'm like, yeah, he's pretty much done for the day. Don't put him back in the game. And when I saw him come out for the third quarter with the wrap, the cameras immediately went to his leg and showed the wrap, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. He should have been back in the game. It's first game of the season. Don't do it on, not a long season. But like Gabe said, he made the mistake of letting, I guess, Lev talk him into playing when he should have been on the other side of that and just protecting Lev for the rest of the season.
And this goes back to training camp as well with this hamstring injury. And then talk about it as a former player, severity of hamstrings. You need to give this time. This isn't something you can get a shot, a cortisone shot, and it's gonna voila, you're gonna be better. Hamstrings need to, I guess, the best way to phrase it, need to play it out to its injury. It needs to just work itself out and live its life and then dissipate.
Correct. And there's different levels to each hamstring pull. So if it's higher up, you're basically a little better. If it's lower in your hamstring down towards your knee tendon, that's not that good, because it takes those tendons a lot longer to a lot longer to heal than the belly of the muscle. You can work out the belly of the muscle and try to keep that tight. When you get into the area of your hamstring pulls where they get towards tendons, that's not like it. Those take a little longer. It kind of looked like the Lev looked like he may have tweaked it right in the middle of his hamstring. So that's almost cramp-like. Probably won't take as long to heal, but still, it's a nuisance thing. You don't know how long before you can push yourself again before it might happen again. So when you come back from it right away, the first thing you're thinking about is this going to happen again? Is it going to grab again? If you feel any little tweak, you're thinking about it. So you're not really going as hard as you should. But that's the only problem with hamstrings.
Yeah, you see it a lot of times with players that hold out in training camp. They come back the first week and voila, boom, right away they pull that hamstring, and we're probably talking about 3 to 4 weeks before he might be somewhat normal.
Yep, pretty much. You see it happen with Denzel Mills.
We got San Francisco next week. Come on, after a loss to Arizona, they could be fighting at the bit.
You see it with Denzel Mims. You're seeing it across the board, across the entire NFL. What you're seeing is soft tissue injuries. A lot of guys with quads or hamstring pulls, right away. First week, tons of guys with hamstring. Denzel goes out with hamstring injury, comes back to practice a few days and pulls the other. So,
because you're compensating the leg. You're using your body to weigh off the pressure, so then it puts too much pressure on the other part of the body, and voila, you hurt yourself. Well, the Jets, were down 21-0 before we knew it. They actually made somewhat of a comeback, thanks to some missed field goals, some turnovers. It was 21-10 until Chris Herndon fumbled the ball, and old Mo, Uncle Mo, just left the building, and all Jet fans were just, and that was pretty much it. And the Bills pretty much had their way with the Jets. But talk about what a turnover does to a team when you're trying to get back to the game. It just really deflates the team.
It absolutely does. And when you have that little bit of momentum going, when you're already in a bad situation, you have that little bit of momentum going, and it comes from a player who you don't expect it to come from.
Yeah, that's true.
That actually does just put a pin in it. It just lets all the air out. You saw it play out for the rest of the game. It seems like Buffalo just took right back over where they had started in the first half, and just got their momentum back and kept it rolling, kept the Jets moving.
Well, Josh Allen, his career has surpassed what Sam Darnold's career is going into year 3 so far. What did you see of Darnold? Analyze him as a former receiver. Is there hope here, or are we just not seeing the progress we need? or he just doesn't have the talent around him. What's wrong here? Is it the offensive plan? Is it the players? Is it just really a combination of the Jets aren't that good?
I think there's a combination of a lot of things that's going on. I didn't like the way Sam started the game. He had a few open receivers that he missed, and he didn't seem to be missing those guys during training camp, and he doesn't seem to miss guys like that. He didn't seem to miss guys like that in his first 2 years when he's on the run. He missed Herndon first series. Should have been a first down. He missed Crowder second series. Should have been a first down. He missed Perriman in that same series on rollouts to his right. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like missing guys by wide margins. It's not even close. And it's already going to be tough enough playing against that Buffalo defense, and you miss guys open. It set the tone for me right from those first 2 series. It set the tone for me that this is not going to be a good day. If Sam is missing guys this wide open, this early in the game, I don't know how much they're going to be able to come back like that. But he just didn't look good. He didn't look comfortable. I don't know if it was a combination of the offensive line giving up some early pressure, or just the fact that the team got down so fast, and he had that in the back of his head. I gotta make a few plays, but he really just didn't look comfortable the whole game. I don't know what it is. Maybe he can turn it around in week 2, 3, or 4. Hopefully.
Tall task. Well, I have a feeling with the Jets this year, it's really going to be the Adam Gase watch. How long is he going to last? I expect them to be 0-2 this week after San Francisco. You never know in the NFL. This is true, but San Francisco's got too much of a team. And you mentioned during our text exchange yesterday during the game that the Jets were outclassed by the Bills. They are going to be outclassed 3 times by San Francisco on paper, anyway.
They just better hope that Garoppolo has one of those terrible games, because I don't really think this one is going to be a great at all. We know the thing about San Francisco losing, they lost to an in-conference team that they pretty much have manhandled over the last few years. But that team has gotten better. The Cardinals have gotten better. And I think San Francisco just found that out. But like everybody else has said, San Francisco is going to come in here with a big chip on their shoulder now.
Maybe they're going to look past the Jets. Maybe. They figure they don't have a head coach. Adam Gase isn't a real head coach. They got a makeshift offensive line. They got a quarterback that's really not a number 3 pick.
I think these guys are going to come in here trying to prove the point that they are one of the better teams in the league. And that's probably going to be an issue, because, again, if you look across the board at the talent that San Francisco has compared to what the Jets have, on paper, it's not close. The only issue is, as everybody said, is with Garoppolo and his mistakes that he tends to make every now and then. But if he's on, because Shanahan is on and his call play, it's going to be a long day for the Jets. These guys have a lot of speed on offense. They have a lot of speed and a lot of talent on defense. And with the Jets' offensive line just trying to gel going against that front, I'm not sure how this is going to work out.
Well, the Gase watch is on. They dropped to 0-1 to start the 2020 season, a 27-17 loss to the Buffalo Bills. It wasn't that close. Up next, as we talked about, San Francisco, he's Rob Carpenter. I'm Mike Damergis for the Gang Green Report.
This has been a production of the Sports Communication and Media Graduate Program at Iona College.